Y'all seen that clip, right? That quiet moment, no music, no chains, just YoungBoy looking straight at the camera. Eyes cold like he's seen 10 winters and still ain't thawed out. And then he said it. Low tone, no cap in his voice. I don't need no handshake. Some things don't heal. Yeah, that one. That's the one that shook the internet last night. 'Cause just hours before, Durk went live, not on some trolling vibe, but calm, grown man energy. He said, if we could end all that, I'm with it. Ain't nobody win yet. Now everybody asking, is this peace? Or just the eye before another storm? But see, that's what people don't get. This ain't just about two rappers. This about what happens when loyalty, pride, and pain all crash in one room and nobody wanna move first. This beef been money, music, and blood. And if you listen close, both sides tired. But neither one trusts the silence. Let me tell y'all what really went down. 'Cause this right here, this moment, it's way deeper than it looks. Before the internet made it a war zone, it was just music. Two young men fighting for the same thing, a way out. Baton Rouge had its prodigy, NBA YoungBoy. Young, angry, poetic, in a way that only pain can teach you. He didn't rap like he was trying to impress nobody, he rapped like he was trying to survive. Every line felt like a confession, whispered into a mic he might never touch again. He wasn't just telling stories. He was leaving evidence. You could hear the fear, the pride, the trauma all twisted together in a voice that cracked between rage and sadness. And on the other side was Chicago's own Lil Durk, the voice of trenches that never healed. Durk wasn't the loudest, but he was the most respected. He carried that kind of presence that made people listen before he even said a word. He moved with patience. He'd seen too many people die fast, so he learned to live slow. The streets looked at him like a general, somebody who earned his stripes without begging for attention. You could feel his leadership even when he wasn't talking. The same pain, different story. And that's why people loved him, because he didn't glorify survival. He analyzed it. For a while, they coexisted like parallel legends. Durk had OTF, only the family. YB had never broke again. A brotherhood carved out of loyalty and trauma. Different cities, same hunger, same energy. Both men had lost too many people too young. Both learned early that fame don't protect you from the streets that raised you. It was mutual respect, unspoken but real. Durk said in a backstage interview once, "YoungBoy hard. I can't even front." Shorty in his own lane. And YB, on a live stream, nodded to Durk's come up. He real. He got motion, for real. Two titans saluting each other from a distance. But see, in hip-hop, respect can turn to rivalry the moment fans start picking sides. The blogs, the comment sections, the gossip pages, they live off tension. They turned admiration into competition. Who run in the streets, YoungBoy or Durk? That question started floating around like a curse. The fans turned it into fuel, and the labels didn't mind. Conflict sells. It always has. Behind the scenes, people started whispering. And that's where things got twisted. The real spark wasn't between YoungBoy and Durk. It was between the people around them. Every crew got that one person who can't let a comment slide. Every group got a soldier who wanna prove loyalty to fast. That's how these things start. It's rarely the generals who throw the first punch. Then came that night in Atlanta. King Von gone too soon. A night that split the internet, the culture, and the streets. And even though Von and YB's camps already had quiet tension, that one moment made silence impossible. It wasn't just about one man dying. It was about everything that came after. Durk felt that pain deep. That was family. That was his brother in more than music. You could see it in his eyes when he stopped posting for weeks. When he finally spoke again, it wasn't through interviews, it was through bars. Pain turned to poetry. Poetry turned to warning shots. And YoungBoy. He stayed quiet. Too quiet. But that's how he always moved, like a storm that don't make noise until it hits. People waited for him to speak, but he didn't need to. His silence became its own kind of message. It made people uneasy. 'Cause in this game, silence can be louder than a diss. The blog started digging, pulling old clips, editing lives into narratives. By the time YoungBoy finally dropped again, tension was already radioactive. His next record came out sounding like thunder. Bars that didn't say names but painted faces. Subtle, sharp, dangerous. The internet caught every subliminal. He talked in 'bout Durk. Nah, he talked in 'bout the whole OTF. Everyone had theories. Everyone picked sides. It wasn't just music no more. It was bloodlines, block history, and trauma wrapped in beats. What people don't understand is that neither man woke up wanton to beef. This wasn't some promo stunt. This was emotion mixin' with pride, street code mixin' with fame. YoungBoy been isolated for years, house arrest, court dates, fake love, snakes all around him. You start seeing the world different when you can't leave the house, but the world keep talking about you. That kind of pressure either breaks you or hardens you. And YB, it hardened him. Every post he made, every line he wrote, came from a place of defense. He didn't want to prove he was the best. He wanted to prove he wasn't the one to play with. Durk, on the other hand, moved like a man who'd already lost too much to care about image. When he rapped, it wasn't about dominance. It was about survival. But when you got millions of people online trying to pit you against somebody else, perception starts turning into reality. You can't back down without looking weak, and you can't go too far without losing everything. So they both stayed in that middle space, rapping like generals, thinking like fathers, feeling like targets. The industry loved it. Every time one dropped a song, the other trended. Every line got dissected, slowed down, remixed, turned into a headline. People turned trauma into entertainment. Durk said this. YB responded with that. Durk posted the emoji. YB deleted a story. It was like watching a war happen through WI-feet. But behind all that digital noise, there were real emotions. Real people. Real consequences. Vaughn's family still hurt. EB's people still cautious. Even some of their mutual friends didn't know how to move. The game had forced everyone to pick a side, even when some didn't want to. There's this clip, never officially released, of a conversation between two producers. It worked with both camps. One of them said, they both say the same thing off camera. Bro. They both say, I don't even hate that man. It's the people around them keeping it lit. That's the tragedy of it. Two powerful artists trapped by the momentum of their own legends. By 2022, things had spiraled. Diss records turned to coded threats. Fans became detectives. Every lyric was a chess move. But then, something shifted. YB started talking different. He wasn't posting like he used to. No wild rants, no trolling energy. Just silence and reflection. He started saying things like, I want peace, and I'm done with all that. But nobody believed him. The internet don't let you grow. It keeps you in the moment that made you viral. So when Lil Durk went live this year and said, if we could end all that, I'm with it. Ain't nobody win yet. It felt like a ripple through the culture. Not just because of what he said, but because of who it came from. The man who'd carried the pain the longest was finally ready to put it down. Fans called it maturity. Others called it strategy. But in truth, it was exhaustion. You could hear it in his voice, that mix of pride and peace, like a man who just wants to breathe again. And a few hours later, that clip of YB surfaced, the one where he looked into the camera. No smile, no cap, and said, "I don't need no handshake. Some things don't heal." It wasn't anger. It was acceptance. Like he knew peace didn't mean friendship, it just meant distance. He wasn't trying to play tough. He was speaking boundaries. People misread it like he was rejecting peace. But what he really said was, "I forgive, but I don't forget." And in the streets, that's as close to peace as you've gone get. The truth is, both of them grew up in systems that taught them one rule: never be the first to fold. So when you see Durk extend a hand and YB keep his in his pocket, understand it ain't pride, it's conditioning. They both carry ghosts that whisper reminders every time they close their eyes. Don't get caught slipping. Don't trust too easy. Don't love too loud. Because what's happening right now in the rap game, it's way deeper than it looks. The thing about silence is, it don't stay silent for long. The streets got their own way of talking. You don't need press releases or interviews, just a few screenshots, a couple subliminals, and the whole world start building their own story. After Durk spoke about peace, the internet started moving like detectives again. People digging through old footage, trying to find clues, trying to decide who meant what. Somebody posted a clip of YoungBoy laughing with his crew the same night Durk went live. He mocking him, they said. Another blog said, "Nah, he laughing at something else." But truth be told, perception don't care about truth. It only care about timing. And the timing was loud behind closed doors. The music industry started buzzing. Rappers, executives, DJs, everybody wondering if this was really the end or just a new chapter. 'Cause if you know this game, you know peace ain't easy to monetize. Conflict sells. Forgiveness don't chart. But still, there was this small hope. This rumor floating that maybe, just maybe, both camps were ready to chill. People close to Durk said he'd been talking about moving different for a while. He tired, one friend said. He's seen too much death, too much court, too much fake love. He just trying to grow. And they said he'd even reached out indirectly just to send that message through the grapevine. Not no begging, not no weakness, just man-to-man energy. Like, we've done lost enough. Meanwhile, YB was in Utah, still on house arrest, watching the world from screens. Imagine that the most talked about rapper alive can't even touch grass without permission. That kind of isolation, do something to your mind. You start reflecting, overthinking, replaying moments that never got closure. His people said he'd been on some spiritual tip lately, read in, pray in, talking about change. But every time peace came up, he'd get quiet. Not angry, just distant. One of his homies said he don't hate Durk, he just hate what the situation became. And that's deep. 'Cause sometimes beef ain't about people, it's about pride. Once the internet stamps something as war, you can't walk away without looking scared. Both of them trapped in that image. Still, Durk moved forward. You could see it in how he started Tokan. No more reckless posts, no more disses. Just maturity. He started doing interviews where he talked about fatherhood, about mental health. Even the music felt cleaner, calmer, more focused. He wasn't trying to prove he was street no more. He was trying to prove he could evolve. That's what real power looks like. But here's where it gets complicated. Some of the younger ones in both camps didn't want peace. They grew up on war energy, on smoke and revenge. To them, peace felt like betrayal. "We can't just let it go," one of them said on a leaked live. They dissed, "Bro. Ain't no going back." That's the part people forget every time two leaders try to calm the storm. Somebody else benefits from keeping it alive. Diss songs mean clicks. Clicks mean money. And for folks who ain't built empires like Y and Durk, drama is the paycheck. So while Durk and YB were both trying to move toward peace, Their shadows, the people who profit off chaos, were working against them. A fake tweet here, a leaked DM there. And suddenly, everybody back on edge. Then one night, a new snippet dropped from an unreleased YoungBoy track. It wasn't even supposed to leak, but it did, and a few lines sounded like shots. The internet went crazy. He back dissin' Durk. He fakin' that peace talk. Blogs posted the clip everywhere. Within an hour, Durk's name was trending again. But what nobody said was that the snippet was old, recorded months before the peace talk even started. That's how twisted it got. The internet turned ghosts into current events. Durk didn't respond. Not a post, not a lyric. Just silence. And that silence. That was power. You could almost feel YB notice it too. The next week, he dropped a short video. Not a song, not a diss, just him talking. Calm voice. No smoke. "I'm protecting my peace," he said. "If you ever felt like I wronged you, I ain't got no hate for you." People froze. Some didn't believe him, but the ones who'd been paying attention knew that was a man releasing something heavy. But here's what people don't understand. Peace ain't a switch you flip. It's a war you fight in private. YB was still dealing with people telling him, "Don't let that man play you." And Durk was hearing, "Don't trust that energy." Both surrounded by voices, none of them neutral. Then came the call. Not a public one, not a PR stunt. A mutual friend, somebody respected by both camps, reached out. He tried to line up a private talk. No cameras, no labels, just conversation. It didn't happen. Not 'cause they didn't want to, but 'cause the timing wasn't right. Too many eyes, too many agendas. The world wasn't ready for that image yet. Still, even without the sit-down, something shifted. When YB's new music dropped, you could hear it. Less dissing, more introspection. He even rapped, "I've been trying to let go, but the world won't let me heal." That line hit different. Fans who'd been following his pain knew what he meant. It wasn't weakness, it was weariness. Durk caught that too. When his album came out a few weeks later, he had a joint that sounded like reflection disguised as motivation. "I've seen too many mothers cry. I can't add to that number." He didn't name names, but everyone knew. It was an answer without confrontation. A nod without a handshake. That's the unspoken truth. Both men been talking through music instead of interviews. Music is safer. It's their language. They can say what they feel without giving too much. Every verse like a coded letter, respect, pain, or warning, depending on how you read it. But here's the craziest part. The streets, the blogs, the fans, they still want war. The peace don't trend as long as the beef did. Nobody clicks on calm. Everybody clicks on chaos. That's the trap. So even as these two evolve, the internet keep trying to drag them back. One night, a blogger went live, taken reckless. Durk only said that peace stuff caused his numbers dropping. The comments went wild. 10 minutes later, another blog posted, "YB don't care about peace, he just bored." It's like people can't accept that growth is real. They think every change gotta be a PR move. But nah, sometimes growth is survival. Sometimes it's the only way out. One of YB's engineers said something that stuck with me. He just tired of losing people. He realized that being right don't bring nobody back. That's a heavy sentence when you think about it. That's not music talk, that's man talk. Same with Durk. Folks close to him say he'd been focusing on his kids, staying home more, staying off the internet. That's what growth looked like in real life. It's quiet, boring even. But in this culture, quiet gets mistaken for weakness. And that's the poison of fame. Still, both of them know the truth. Peace don't mean friends. It just means nobody gotta die over pride. That's a lesson the streets rarely let you learn. Most people don't make it far enough to understand that not every battle needs a winner. Some just need an ending. When YB said, "I don't need no handshake," people called it cold. But really, it was honesty. He wasn't saying, "I hate you." He was saying, "Let's keep distance, but let's live." That's maturity in a language the streets still learn in to translate. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it ain't about beef no more. It's about legacy. About how two men who came from pain became symbols, one for the South, one for the Midwest, and now, somehow, both trying to unlearn the same curse that made them famous. And the wildest part, the world's still doubting them. Still waiting for one of them to slip, to post something dumb, to reignite the storm. But for once, both sides seem like they finally see through the game. 'Cause here's the truth, nobody say out loud, peace ain't weakness, it's rebellion. And that's what makes this story feel legendary. Two men who've been through hell finally realizing they don't owe the world their pain no more. But the question is, will the world let them move on? They say peace sound good until somebody tests it. That's when you find out who really meant it. Meanwhile, Y got wind of the situation too. Folks said he was tight about it. Not at Durk, at his own people. "Why you even speak on that?" He asked one of them. "We not on that no more." His tone wasn't loud, but it had weight. That's the thing about YB. He don't need to yell to make people nervous. He's got that still energy, the kind that says, "I mean every word." That moment right there showed something different. The old YB might have doubled down, dropped a diss, turned the internet into fire. But this version, he checked his own people. That's growth you can't fake. Still, the damage was done. The media ran with it like a baton. YB Camp sends message to Durk. Beef reignited. You'd think a war started overnight. Durk's fans started talking wild again. YB's fans clap him back, and before long, the same storm everyone tried to escape started spinning again. Except this time, it wasn't the artists, it was the crowd. And that's the sick part of fame. The audience become the puppeteers. Then came the moment that turned the whispers back into headlines. A DJ at a major event played a remix of one of YB's older tracks. The one with subliminals people used to think was aimed at OTF. Crowd went crazy. Phones out. Hashtags flying. And somebody from Durk's side, maybe drunk or emotional, posted a story saying, "Ain't no peace when disrespect still playing." Deleted it minutes later. But the internet don't delete. Within hours, both names trending again. You could feel that old heat creeping back. And that's when YB went live. Not on no rant, not on no promo move, but calm, cold. The kind of calm that make you lean in closer to the screen. He said, "They keep playing my old words like I'm still that person. I done said what I said. But I'm done speaking on that. Ain't no back and forth, no fake peace, no fake beef. I'm protecting my soul now." It was only a few sentences, but they hit like gunshots. The internet tried to twist it, say he was calling Durk fake. But what he was really doing was set in boundaries, the kind the streets rarely respect. Durk didn't respond online. But in private, he heard it. One of his engineers said Durk listened to that live on repeat while in the studio. Then he laid a verse that started with, "Sometimes you tryna heal, but the world only wants your wounds." That's not a diss, that's a mirror. Both men reflecting each other without even speaking. That's what makes it poetic. It's like they trapped in the same story. On opposite sides of the glass, the tension wasn't just between them anymore. It was between what they used to be and what they trying to become. Both sides fighting ghosts. Fans want the monsters back. The world missed the chaos. But these men, they just want peace. Still, peace don't sell records, and you could see the industry start trying to pull strings again. One label exec reportedly said, "If we could get them both on a track, it'd break the internet." Sounds good in theory, but how you put two men with blood history on a song just because the numbers look good? That's the part of the game nobody want to talk about. The exploitation behind the entertainment. The labels don't care who make it home as long as the streams spike. YB caught wind of that too. And it made him colder. That's when he recorded that video clip that leaked later. The one where he said, "I don't need no handshake." He wasn't talking to Durk directly. He was talking to the industry. To the people who think peace is content. He was saying, "Stop turning my pain into promo." But of course, the internet flipped it. YB rejects peace. Ark's offer denied. That's when you realize how deep this thing really go. It's not about two rappers. It's about what the culture rewards. We say we want unity, but we only tune in for blood. After that, both camps went quiet again. Like two cities on lockdown after too many sirens. Everybody cautious. Durk went on tour. YB kept dropping music from the house. Neither said each other's name. But even in the silence, they were still connected to men dealing with the weight of leadership. 'Cause that's what they are now, symbols. And symbols don't get to rest. A few months later, a mutual producer gave an interview and said they both respect each other deep down. They just can't show it yet. That line hit different. They just can't show it yet. Like peace itself became dangerous. Durk started posting quotes about growth, forgiveness, staying focused. YB posted videos of his kids, his music setups, his new house. From the outside looking in, it looked like they both moving on. But the real ones know when you come from pain, peace feel foreign. It don't sit easy. It feel like something's missing. Late one night, YB dropped a surprise track on YouTube. No promo, no announcement. Just a black screen and his voice. It wasn't a diss, but it wasn't soft either. It was truth. They say, and I changed. I call it breathin'. That line broke the internet for a night. Even some of Durk's fans respected it, and that's when something beautiful happened. Durk liked a fan tweet about the song. Didn't repost it, didn't comment, just a like. A tiny, quiet gesture that said more than 1,000 interviews could. Y never responded, but people close to him said he saw it. Smirked, didn't say a word. Just nodded. Maybe that's as close as we'll ever get to peace, to men who lost too much to pretend everything's fine, but grown enough to stop feeding the fire. But the story ain't over. Because the streets got memory longer than time. Every diss, every loss, every word still echo in people's heads. Even if the artists move on, the fans, the followers, the hangers-on, they keep the beef alive like it's folklore. Some of them weren't even around when it started, but they treat it like religion. And that's the real danger. When pain becomes legacy. When young fans start thinking hate is heritage. But maybe, just maybe, this whole situation is teaching the next generation something different. That survival ain't about revenge. It's about restraint. That leadership ain't about dominance. It's about discipline. Because look at them now. Two kings who used to rule with emotion, now leading with silence. That's power. The kind that don't need to be loud to shake the room. And even if they never speak again, even if there's never a handshake or a collab, the message already clear. Peace don't need to be public to be real. What's happening right now in the rap game? It's way deeper than it looks. The quiet didn't last. It never does. After a few months, the headlines slowed down. The comment sections went dry, and people started to believe it might really be over. But that kind of story never ends clean. Every calm moment in the rap world is just the part where people reload. Durk kept his head down, moving like a businessman instead of a brawler. Studio shows, his kids, his team. He told his circle, if it don't make us money or make us better, leave it alone. That sounded simple, but when you've lived your whole life in defense mode, it's the hardest rule to follow. The industry calls. Bloggers still bait him with questions. DJs still play old songs that bring the ghosts back. One night at a show in Miami, somebody yelled out YB's name during Durk's set. The crowd tensed. Phones came up, but Durk just smiled and finished the song. That was the moment you knew he'd learned control. Y was learning it too, in his own way. House arrest lifted, but he didn't run to the clubs or the chaos. He stayed in the studio, building songs that sounded like therapy sessions. He was lighter, but you could still hear the edge in his voice, the part that didn't trust peace yet. Friends said he'd sit outside some nights and talk about how fame feels like a trap with better furniture. He wasn't bragging anymore. He was studying life. Still, the streets don't move on just because you want to. Still, something in the culture started to shift because of them. Other rappers who'd been beefing began talking about squashing their own issues. One said in an interview, "If Y and Durk can cool down, why can't we?" That's impact when your silence speaks louder than your beef ever did. Behind the scenes, some old heads in the game started reaching out to both sides. Not to force a handshake, just to keep the peace stable. The calls went something like, "I see what y'all doing. Keep it that way." For the first time, the older generation wasn't instigating. They were protecting. The industry was learning to value longevity over drama. Durk kept building. New artists, new label moves, bigger investments. He was still in the trenches mentally. But he'd learned how to move like a CEO. YB started his own media channel, talking about independence, control, and self-worth. He said, "I used to want the world to love me. Now, I just want to love me." That's growth most people never reach. Especially when millions of eyes watch your every move. Then came the rumor that the two might cross paths at an award show. Twitter went wild. Security doubled. The internet prayed for drama. But when the night came, nothing happened. They didn't even look at each other. Just two men standing in the same room, breathing the same air and choosing peace by doing nothing. Sometimes maturity looks like walking past what used to control you. Later that night, a fan caught a clip of YB laughing with his team backstage, someone mentioning Durk's name. And he just said, "Let him win." 3 words. But they carried weight. That was acceptance, not surrender. And people close to Durk said when he heard about it, he smiled. Didn't post, didn't speak on it, just smiled. That's when you realize the story ain't about rivalry anymore. It's about evolution. It's about two men who finally figured out that survival isn't about who's feared the most tits, about who learns to live the longest. They both outgrew the version of themselves the world fell in love with, and that's what makes the fans uncomfortable. Growth ain't entertaining. It's quiet. It's heavy. It's human. The blogs kept trying, of course. Fake screenshots, misquoted bars, exclusive leaks. But this time, nobody bit. The fans ignored it. The artists stayed silent, and the numbers still went up. That's how you beat the system, by giving it nothing to feed on. Months passed. Seasons changed. New rappers came up, new controversies started. The world moved on. But the lessons stayed. In the studio, young artists started saying, "I don't want to end up like them." Not meaning the fame, meaning the feud. That's legacy too. Some say one day they'll collab. Maybe, maybe not. But even if they never do, the silence they created together is louder than any song could be. It taught the culture that two men from the hardest backgrounds can choose peace without losing respect. That's a revolution in a genre built on retaliation. Now, when people bring up the beef, it's in past tense. A story told like a legend. Remember when? And that's how you know it's over. Not because of an apology, but because the next generation don't need to relive it. They can just learn from it. So yeah, maybe they'll never shake hands. Maybe they'll never share a stage. But they both did something rarer. They survived their own myth. In a world where most stories end in funerals, they wrote a different ending. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And if you listen close to the silence between their songs, you can still hear the lesson underneath all the pain, all the fame, all the noise. Sometimes the hardest flex is letting go, and that's the thing about this whole story. It never was just about rap. It was about two men trying to outrun their past while the world kept dragging it behind them. See? In hip-hop, everybody loved the rise and the war, but nobody talked about the healing. We celebrate the chaos, then get confused when peace feels foreign. But what Durk and YB just showed the culture. That silence can be louder than gunshots. That growth ain't soft, it's sacred. They ain't friends. They ain't enemies. They just free. And that's the kind of ending the streets never get, but always needed. Two men who could have turned the world into fire decided to walk away instead. That's not fear, that's mastery. So when people look back on this chapter, don't call it a beef, call it a mirror. A reflection of how loyalty, ego, pain, and love all mix inside the same heart. How sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing, because real power, it ain't in the numbers. It ain't in the diss tracks. It's in the discipline. It's in the way you move when nobody watching. So yeah, this story might be over, but the lesson ain't. The next generation's watching right now, learning that you can still be real, still be respected, and still choose peace. What y'all think about this situation? Did he do the right thing or go too far letting it fade? Drop your thoughts below and make sure you subscribe, because this story, this energy, it ain't done yet. The rap game's still writing its next chapter, and trust me, you ain't gonna believe what happens next.